It's a tough night to be a Mountaineer fan, but I'm proud of this team. Unfortunately, West Virginia come up short in their 25-point comeback attempt with a 94-90 loss to Kansas State. Mountaineer Paul and Couz are here with you with a live edition, post-game edition of Hoops from the Hills. We thank you for hopping in tonight. Thank you for all those who are in the chat. Let's real quick before we even get started, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in person today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
All right, a nail biter. This team down 25 points at one point in the second half. They come back, tie the game, had a chance to win it, actually took the lead near the end. Were not able to hold on, and ended up losing it 94-90 in overtime to Kansas State. Paul, your initial thoughts?
This is one of those ones that had probably been sick for 2 or 3 days over had we not already been so far out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The loss still stings. It stings a lot. But now that we're, it's like this coaching search is looming and everything. It's kind of strange to be watching it through that lens, because it's not something we're used to. I mean, it's not something we've ever really had to do. We knew the Bob Huggins hire was basically boom, boom. There was, I don't know that since I've been a West Virginia basketball fan, I can't remember being in this kind of mental space watching these games. It's so strange, It's like I have a stake in these games. I want the team to win,
mm-hmm.
but I know we're out of it. And it's like it takes such I don't know what the word is for it, but it takes something out of me as far as passion watching these games sometimes. But this game really got me going. And that comeback was amazing. Raekwon and Kerr both had great individual nights. I think Jesse Edwards, if you're going to do a case study for the biggest difference between the Big 12 and physicality and the ACC, there's your case study right there. A guy like Jesse Edwards dominated in the ACC, out-physicaled a lot of players, a lot of nights. On this night, he was absolutely dominated in the post by several different K-State forwards. It wasn't just the one that fouled out. I think I said what I say in the off season. If Jesse Edwards gets in the weight room and really tries to add 20 or 30 pounds, I felt like he could be the best big in the Big 12, and I believe he would have been. I don't have any proof saying he didn't get in the weight room, but I'd be really surprised if he touched anything major. So anyway, he gets pushed around way too much to be somebody his size.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it was a great comeback. It really got me interested in the game for the first time in a while because we've just been out of these games in the second half. I guess, one of my coaches always used to say, you're only having to make a comeback because you play like crap to get to that point. And so there's a lot of blame to go around in this one, just like always. But biggest takeaway is this team has not given up on Josh Eilert, and this was a big one for him emotionally. This is K-State. This is home to him. And so this is kind of like Hugs going back to Cincinnati. And so they fought for him. It goes to show you that they haven't given up like some people speculated. I just think that maybe at times they have, but I think generally speaking, they wanted this for Josh and reasonably so. So
yeah.
At the end of the day, takeaway is it's another tough loss. I really truly feel like just like at the very end of the game, we have a chance to at least try to shoot for another overtime. And then, our player knocks it out of bounds instead of theirs. We just have not, in a year where, you sometimes get 50-50 calls, sometimes don't. I've just not seen this many ever in my life go against the team, ever.
Yeah.
This is truly the most snake bitten, bad luck ridden team in the history of college basketball. Challenge me to find me another team that's had more bad luck. I'll give you $100. I can't believe it, how much bad luck this team has.
Yeah.
And so, to that extent, Josh Allert, the people that say he deserves a second chance, I get why they say that, because a lot of this stuff isn't coaching.
Yeah.
It's just happenstance. Maybe there was something that he could have done roster wise. I mean, obviously Jeremiah Bembry looks like a horrible move now. Uh, and I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but Neve was playing extremely well, and then right before the guys came back, and he never sees the floor anymore. I mean, that guy had double-digit games a couple times this year. I just don't understand some of that. So anyway, say all I have to say. Kicking it off to you.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into the stats and whatnot, I want to get to a few comments here. Timothy Green, who's a regular here, he says, "Let's go Mountaineers. There's better years to come." Got Tim Trevs in the house. "I still love this team, all the coaches, staff, and it's still a great day to be a Mountaineer. Good fight." AJ Saferstein says, "Ouch." Got Todd Withrow in the house, says, "More Mountaineer Nation. We almost pulled it out. Great game. We fought hard. Battle Kerr. Have yourself a night, boys." Curtis D316, thank you for your continual support. Says, "As big as Edwards is, he's weak going up with the ball, and all he had to do was make his free throws. And he needs to use his friggin' left hand. My gosh, man.
Well,
Use your left hand."
I mean, listen, I'm only 6'1.5", and obviously, when I was growing up, I was a little taller. I played forward a lot, and so post work and footwork was drilled into me my entire life, and to watch him come off that pick, seal, flash, and stick his hand out and him to get the pass in there, with on the right block, only to go back over his right shoulder, completely blew me away at the end of that game. I've just never seen that. Like usually you go with the flow of the over the whatever shoulder you've been given. He obviously had him sealed to his left shoulder, and he could have went up with his right hand anyway.
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy twist 180 to do that. And to his credit, he's made a lot of shots like that this year that are just contorted and weird looking. But it's because he's tall, and he usually doesn't matter because he's taller and he can see. But that dude has his fun, man. He's got a lot of room to improve. And if Jesse Edwards ever got serious about that, because he obviously wasn't asked to do it at Syracuse. It's very obvious they had him in a role, and he didn't venture outside of that because he didn't learn much at all about post play at all. He learned how to play in that zone defense, and he learned how to block shots in the zone defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got good body control, but you don't make it hard on yourself. I mean, All right, let's look at some stats here. See if I can pull them up here. First off, I want to give a shout out. Tyler Perry is a freaking man. Okay, from Kansas State. That guy played a heck of a ball game. He's a great basketball player. Was the leading scorer on the night for both teams. So shout out to him. Real quick, he scored 29 points. Like I said, was the leading scorer the whole game. See if I can. Here we go. Yeah, there it is. 29 points for him. 19 for Carter. 13 for Kaluma. 13 for McNair. I mean, what? They were shooting lights out first half. I mean, and they were not a good 3-point shooting basketball team coming in. I mean, the scouting report against K-State is what? Let them shoot the three. Let them shoot it. Well, they were killing us with it. But second half, they cooled off a little bit. Everybody
except Perry.
Well, yeah, exactly. Battle had 28 of his own, so he was right behind Perry. And I agreed with King McClure there in overtime. He, excuse me, Battle needed to get the ball more in overtime. Now, a lot of that was his fault because he didn't move without the ball enough early on in the overtime period. At least on a couple possessions that I saw early on, but they needed to figure out a way to get him the basketball more. Late.
They had just played 40 minutes too.
Yeah.
He was in almost the whole game.
True. But you could see that he wasn't. He was still killing it. There on that last. Well, that one shot he made, that 1-3 he made in overtime. He had really good lift on that shot. So, Kreese had a good night at 25, but and then Sumnick come off the bench and had 10. There's you can make an argument that he actually outplayed Edwards tonight. Edwards did have 7 rebounds. So,
and blocks.
And a couple blocks. Yep, right there it is, 2 blocks. So, it's not like he didn't do anything, but he definitely had a tough night. He was 3 of 9 shooting the ball from the line, 1 of 9 from the floor. So, just a rough night for Jesse Edwards. Noah Farrakhan came off the bench and put in 7 as well. So, now let's look at some team stats. Paul, anything stands out to you real quick on those individual stats before we move on to team?
My answer is not playing to me that kind of catches my eye anymore than who does play. Like the rotation has been settled in for, 10, 15 games now.
Right.
But it's just weird that with everything, it makes you wonder who is actually even still on the team. You don't even see Neve or any of those guys anymore. And this season is like regular season has been a lost cause for a long time now. Why not get those guys some experience? I don't get it. And there is no redshirt rule in basketball, so it can't be that. I don't understand what it is.
Here's my theory on that. They're still trying. This team hasn't got to play a lot together with their full roster yet. Raekwon missed 10 games, Kerr missed 9 games, Jesse missed a month, and they're still trying to find. They're probably still not at the top level of chemistry that they could have together, So I would say Josh, and they still are holding out hope. They're not giving up. They're holding out hope that they can make a run and win the Big 12 tournament. Now, we all know that's likely not going to happen, but it's possible. And they're holding on to that hope. And I think what he's doing is he just feels like that group, that starting 5, and then the 7 or 8 guys that get the most minutes, he wants to let them play as much as possible together to build that chemistry and get it even stronger. That would be my theory behind why he doesn't play those guys.
Right.
But again, I don't know if that's the answer. But if I was him, that's probably what I would be doing. Because they can't, as a coach, you can't give up on your team. You've got to still try to win.
But you don't see rotations get locked into 7 or 8 players until till tournament time. Usually, all 12 or 13 guys usually play up until the last few games of the year. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah,
I'm talking about 3 or 4 minutes here.
Right, and that's fair.
It makes no sense for a guy like Neve who scored double figures this year to not play. I don't get it.
Field goals. West Virginia shot it 39%. Kansas State shot 45.8. 3-point line was 39% for West Virginia, 48% for K-State. Shot the lights out from behind the arc. Free throws, 17 for 26, 65% for West Virginia. That's not good enough. 65% is not good enough in the Big 12. It won't get it done. Kansas State shot 71%. Rebounds, Kansas State 48-41 over West Virginia. West Virginia actually out-rebounded Kansas State on the offensive glass 18-15, so that's interesting. Assists, 18-17 in favor of K-State. Steals, 6-3 in favor of the Mountaineers. Blocks, 3-2 West Virginia. Total turnovers, Kansas State actually turned it over 16 times. But the problem is West Virginia apparently had 0 points off those turnovers. That might be a mistype there, because surely goodness it wasn't 0. That has to be an error.
You've got one guy that can handle. You got basically 2 guys that can handle the ball down the floor in that situation.
Yeah.
And then Raekwon can a little bit. But outside of Kerr and and Kobe.
Mhm.
Good luck finding another really good ball handler on this roster.
Right.
That on a breakaway you can. There's just no. That's the thing. Like, there's not enough versatility within this roster. Uh, which, I mean, they didn't have a choice. They got left with what they got left with.
Fast break points, 13-5 in favor of K-State. Points in the paint, 26-24 West Virginia. 25-22 West Virginia. In fouls, K-State had the one technical. And then Kansas State led as much as 25 points in this game, obviously, and that was in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. So, or at least I know they trailed by at least 20 in the second half, and 25 at one point in the game. So, big comeback by the Mountaineers. Have to give them credit for that. They never gave up. They fought. They hustled. They're still trying to win, like Paul said earlier on in the opener, in the opening. They are still trying to win for Josh Eilert, and you've got to give them credit for that. Anything that stood out to you on those team stats there before we get to the super chat?
Not really.
Jacob Yoho, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. We appreciate the support. I have a question. If Josh wins Big 12 tournament, does that buy him some points to keep job? My opinion is no. I think that ship has sailed. In my opinion, I think they want somebody. I'll be honest. I don't think they ever really intended to keep Josh, barring some sort of miraculous season. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. But so the answer is no, Jacob. I don't think that they would. I don't think it would earn him any points. But what it would do is earn him points towards his next job and earn that staff. It's something they could put on their resume for the next job. And that would be important for this team, for this staff. So, I still want to see all of these guys go on to have great coaching careers, even if it's not at West Virginia.
That's a great point. It's not just the players. The staff needs to finish strong for their livelihoods. That's a great point, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sad. The business end of this is so sad. I hate it for these guys, man. And you're all West Virginia guys. It's like the worst. It's just a bad taste, But
yeah,
at the end of the day, they are. Most wouldn't consider them an elite staff.
right.
They do have some really good guys on the staff. Don't get me wrong, but it's not exactly like what Coach K was walking around with a bunch of high level recruiters and just guys that have been in the game for 20 years. So these guys still need to earn their chops, and this is one way. I think most coaches will see this just as it is. All these guys are thrown in the fire in the most impossible situation, and anything positive that can come out of that will probably look really good on another application.
Absolutely.
But as far as Coach Eilert goes, listen, I truly believe that Gordon Gee was not kidding whenever he said he could win the national championship and he wanted to bring him back because he hates Bob Huggins that much. And I really do think, with the Hoppy Kirchhoff hit piece he put out on about Bob Huggins today, bashing him and kind of rubbing his nose in the fact that he's not going to get the job. Just my opinion on how I interpreted the article. He's, nobody's going to be more happy than Gordon Gee to see the stain of Bob Huggins be wiped away with Josh Eilert. So there's no way.
Anthony Perry says, I just joined. So this may have been discussed already, but how do you keep letting Perry get the ball to shoot free throws at the end? Gasson was on the floor and shoots 40%. They were trying to foul him, I think, and they just weren't able to get to him in time. And remember, Kerr had 4 fouls, so he couldn't do the fouling, and he was the guy kind of at the top of the defense. And it looked to me like they were trying to foul Gasson, and it looked like one time they did, and the ref just didn't blow the whistle. And the other times they couldn't get to him. He got rid of the ball before they could get to him. So I actually thought they did foul him and the ref just didn't blow the whistle. That was what I thought I saw. I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't Gasson that they did that to, but anyway, and then you got to tip your hat to K-State. Those guys were doing a really good job of avoiding getting fouled there too. And were able to bleed seconds off the clock. So some of that was just
juked out.
Yeah, some of that was on K-State and the job they were doing, in my opinion, on getting rid of the ball quickly and getting it into Perry's hands. I thought they did a really good job with that. some of it, sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the opponent, you know.
Yep.
Somebody else in the chat asked where Ofri had been. Seth Wilson should be on the floor more. Kenneth Smith, I agree with that sometimes. He probably should, but the problem with is Seth, he's a great shooter, but I think there are other things. And he's also been battling an injury, too. I don't know how many people realize. I didn't know it myself until a few days ago. He's been battling a hamstring injury. But he's a great shooter, but there are other things that I guess he doesn't do well. And I don't, it just feels like, you know, other guys do it better than he does, you know. It's the only thing I can think of. What do you think about that comment, Paul?
Can you repeat that comment? I was reading some of these comments.
Seth Wilson should be on the floor more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he should be on the floor. You know, at least a little more. You know, he hasn't really had much of a chance outside of the first 10 games to show what he can do this year. I mean, he's limited. He's a role player. We get that. He's not the guy. He's not Raekwon Battle that you can just give the ball and ISO him. But he does have a role, and if you run offense a certain way, and you can get to the lane, I truly believe in him as a spot up shooter.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with him is he almost never pulls the trigger on a. I don't know. It's really weird, man. The way he likes to get rhythm and shoot shots, I've always found to be strange. Like, but anyway, yeah, he could help this team, you know. But uh, like you said earlier, I think Josh just has in mind who he thinks the best guys are, and maybe they're just letting Seth trying to figure out what he wants to do next. Some too, I don't know.
Yeah. And that hamstring could be hampering him here. I mean, Timothy made a comment. He says he's had one before, so he understands how hard it is to run the floor. We've got AJ Saferstein in the house. I'm sorry, AJ, if I'm mispronouncing your name. But he says West Virginia was dealt a poop sandwich at the beginning of the year amid the Hugs chaos. I actually see a few new names in the house tonight. AJ, forgive me, but I don't remember seeing you in here in the chat before. So welcome. Also saw a couple other names. The Adelaide Grace is a new one for me. Maybe Paul's seen you around, but I have not. If you have been in the chat, I've just overlooked your name, I guess. But yeah, we got a few new people in the AO Truth in the house. So shout out to the new people who are joining us tonight, maybe for the first time, or maybe I just didn't see you the last time. And if so, I apologize. It's hard to keep up with everybody. BPA 1995 says if Beeline gets the job, he might keep some of the assistants, especially Ruoff and Butler. And that actually is a great segue. It is a great point. I like it. But that segues into the one really quick thing we want to mention before we jump off of here, because we got to keep this short tonight, guys. It's late. I've got family going to bed that has to get up early in the morning. Paul has to get up early in the morning, so we're going to have to jump off pretty soon. But we do have one little nugget we want to share. Paul, I'll let you do it.
My source reached out to me earlier and basically told me that Chris Mack has a shot into the fray, if you'll call it. Definitely, probably towards the top of the list. Definitely feelers have been put out. So I think that's cool. You know, I think if he's willing to come out of retirement at age 54, 55, whatever he's now, it's still pretty young. Certainly a lot of fight left in him. I'm sure he has a horrible taste in his mouth with the way things ended in Louisville, with him recording the assistant coach and taking it to the NCAA, and the whole thing ended. Fresh off, not just, you know, he didn't just. I mean, he did some things, man. They did the national championship over there. You know how many number one overall seeds Xavier had while he was there? Go look that up. I think it was a couple at least. And this is all off memory. Like, I know they had at least 2 number one overall seeds while he coached at Xavier. But I mean, he's as high level as it gets. You know, this is like a step, a step below like a Jay Wright. You know, like this is right there with Beeline. I mean, this is right there. This is a big time name. Some people don't like the way he finished at Louisville. That's fine, but that's like literally 1.5 years of a huge career of accomplishments. And so there would be some concerns and questions But if you're telling me I've got to choose between, like, I don't know, Dustin Kearns and Chris Mack, I'm going to say give me Chris Mack. You know, he's a proven winner. No shade at Dustin Kearns, but so yeah, that was news for Couz and I. We kind of got excited a little bit, or I did.
Yeah, I did
think
too.
Couz is as well.
He's my number one guy right now.
So
I like Beeline, but
he's getting hired.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're not saying here predicting he's going to get the job, but he is somebody to keep an eye on, you know, is the way we'll say it. You know, obviously things can change daily on this with these coaching searches and things like that. But anyway, did have to ban someone from the chat for at least for temporarily, but that's all good. It's part of the gig here. Thank you all for I couldn't believe we were still at it. He's come at me in my comments before, so I know who he is. He basically comes in your comments just to talk trash to you and make fun of you. He's a troll, basically. So I just banned it. I just put him in timeout so we don't have to deal with it. And then he called us clowns. But anyway, that was awesome news that Paul and I got right before we jumped on air, so we wanted to share it. Anything else before we hop off of here, Paul? Yeah, got to give a shout out to Gamecock Chuck.
Yep, absolutely. I figured you want to see that.
Yep. He it has been a rough year at Gamecock. We appreciate you being in the chat. Everybody go check out his channel. The last I saw, he was only a few subs away from 1,000. If he's not there yet, go get him over 1,000. I haven't looked in the last couple of days, but he does good work over there covering the Carolina Gamecocks, including the women's basketball team, baseball, basketball, football, you name it. He covers the Gamecocks. So go check him out if you want to keep up with what they're doing over there. And he's always supported us here at Hoops from the Hills, Couz's Corner, Mountaineer Paul Talks Football, all of our channels. So, all right, any last words, Paul, before we call it a night?
Well, we got a super chat. How about that?
We did. You can tell you're a dad. Time out. Love it. You're a Val with the $5 super chat. Yeah. Well, that actually, it's funny, and you're right. That is part of it probably, but there is an actual option on here that lets you put somebody in timeout. There's also a ban option, and then I think there's something else. I don't know. I hit the timeout option, and it said it banned him, so I don't know. Either way, I'm okay with it. But Val, thank you for the $5 super chat and for supporting what we do here at Hoops from the Hills. With that said, we appreciate you guys coming in. We wish you good night, and we're done.
What's up, Matthew Watkins?
Dusty May is being, I guess he's still on the list, but he's also being talked to by other schools too. So I don't expect to get him.
Ohio State.
But anyway, we're out, guys.
Later.